Look how much space I've got. That's because the jet is up and running. The guys got her going, and you can follow everything that's happening with that car over on their channel. The space won't be empty for long though, because this week we're going to bring our Charger over, the 67 Charger. And we've already promised that to D&D Speed Shop for next year for the Power Tour. So they're going to fly down and they're going to take the car on Power Tour. So we've got a lot of stuff to do on that car. That'll be one of our winter projects. But Slag Hammer. So Slag Hammer has finally grown up and become a real car. We started this project with the idea of doing the Power Tour first, right? So the car had to be able to make a 2,000 plus mile road trip and get decent gas mileage and be reliable and all of that stuff. So when we put this together, that initially, set it up initially, that was the main goal. So we used this is the converter that was in there, which is stock Chrysler converter, way too tight for the cam that was in there. We had these 323s in it, way too not, that's a highway gear, not good for this. So now that road tripping and all that stuff is behind us, we can set the car up and have it do what it was originally intended to do. So let's start back here at the rear end. So we'll talk about the rear end. About 15 years ago, when I first got into the parts business, the Mopar parts business, I bought a tractor trailer load of Petty Enterprises stuff. It was all like their old short track things. So in this load, I can't tell you how many 340 blocks and heads, prototype W2 heads, all sorts of different W2 heads. I had 305 Trans Am and NASCAR stuff. You name it. It was just amazing. It was like a smorgasbord of parts. But I was in the parts business, so holding on to stuff wasn't in the cards, and it was all sold off. I held on to a couple of items. The first was the valve covers that are on Bottle Rocket. They're like just custom valve covers. There's nothing distinctive about them except that I know that that's where they came from. And this rear end, for some reason, I kept this rear. So it's a 49 case, 8 3/4, with 430 gears, and like literally the most welded spider gears I've ever seen in my life. High horsepower short track and dirt track, I guess it's got to be beefy, right? So these things are just... So at any rate, it's a 430 gear, and that's what we stuck in the car. And it should match about that engine just about right. 456, 488 might be a little bit better, but this will do. These will do the job. They're completely unchanged from how I got it, with the exception of I tightened up the backlash just a scotch. Because on lower horsepower street type cars, like this one here, 400 or 500 horsepower, I like to run ATF in the rears. And it just frees up that much extra power. I didn't come up with the stuff. This is a Sox and Martin thing, okay? So it's got ATF in it, tighten up the backlash just a little bit, but other than that, that's what was in there. Okay, the street tires are gone. And in their place, we've got these M&H Racemasters. They're 10.5 by 29.5. I think they should be about right for this car. I had them, that's why we threw them on here. The Virgin. So we'll run them out and see how they go. I have no idea what tire pressure, we'll talk about that in a little bit. The rear suspension I haven't touched. It's the same as was out on the Power Tour. There's definitely going to be tuning involved. There's a pinion snubber in there. I know it's going to need an extra clamp or two on the front segments of the springs, but I'm not going to stress that right now. For the purposes, for the way this car is going to go now, she's good to go. Transmission. So I built this tranny here. Everything is fresh. Everything is new. And that stock converter is gone. And my friend Shane Polito, Slant Daily Garage, his channel is Slant Daily Garage. My friend Shane Polito built this converter specifically for this car. It's supposed to be a 4,000, 4,500 RPM converter, tighten up at about $6,000. And playing around with the car outside, it feels a hair tight to me. It feels a hair tight, but honestly, it's probably because I've got no traction. We're going to take the car out in a few minutes and beat it up a little bit, because it really sounds and runs good. So the converter might be a tad tight, might want to take this thing out, but I won't know until the car's actually been on a drag strip and stuck to the track to see how it's actually going to, react. But other than that, I'm happy with it. The mufflers are gone. Gone. So, oh, this is great. So yesterday I says, all right, I need to make some collector extensions for this thing. So these Hooker fender well headers have 3.5-inch collectors. So I went out in search of 3.5-inch pipe to make collectors out of. No, it doesn't exist. You can't find it. I went to a bunch of exhaust shops that do car exhausts, and the biggest they had was 3-inch. So I says, all right, I'll go to some truck shops. So I went to a couple of truck shops, and the smallest they have is like 4-inch. Go figure, right? Of course, it's always the thing you need that you can't find easily. As I'm leaving the last exhaust shop, I saw they had a rack of chrome tips. I says, I wonder if any of those are 3.5-inch. Yeah, they had a pair of these. They were 3.5-inch. So I welded the reducers from the mufflers on there, and now we've got these snazzy chrome 3.5-inch extensions. And they look to be about the right length. I tell you, long or short, I don't care. They're going to stay just the way they are because it looks bitchin', right? And wait till you hear this thing run. So we talked about the converter and all of that. The engine, I have not touched the engine. There's really nothing for me to do on the engine. It's going to need tuning. So here's the next step. Al has got to take this thing to the track. So that's all we've done now is just prepare this thing for Al to go out and get it going. So once Al gets it to the track, he's going to have to work on all of these different variables. He's going to have to put all of the fine details in place. We've painted the rough picture, now he's got to put in the details. Things like tire pressure, launch RPM, where the pinion snubber has got to be set, secondary opening point on the carburetors, main jetting on the carburetors, even down to like just launch technique. You know, do you leave from a flat punch? Do you bring up the idle a little bit? Do you I don't know. We won't know these things until the car's actually on a drag strip and stuck to the ground. And that's where Al is going to do his thing. I'm looking forward to seeing what he comes up with. It's pretty close the way it is. I mean, it's not like this thing's way out in left field. It's solid. But I'm trying to show self-control. I had this thing running yesterday, and it was like, and I'm outside, and I'm beating it all up. I'm like, no, don't break it, don't break it, don't break it. I keep saying, don't break it. So I try not to break it. But I can't make this video without at least giving you guys an idea what she looks and sounds like out in the world. So let's do that. bad, right? So that's it. I think she's about ready to go. Al, let's see what you can do with this thing. And the rest of you guys, I'll see you tomorrow.